Is the real estate housing market going to crash in 2020 like it did in 2006? Is it a different kind of a market now in 2020 than it was in 2006? There's so many different reports being published and news acting out onto this. Let's take a look. John Winter with Moving AZ Homes channel here on YouTube. I want to send a special shout out to those in the subscriber community. Thank you for taking a part of your day to be here. You know, if you're not a part of the community, it's easy. Just click on that little red subscriber button. It's free and you'll never miss another episode. There's such a plethora of information from the news, you know, different articles being written, questions being asked. Is the market going to crash, the housing market? In this video, what I'd like to be able to do is just to do a comparison of the information from 2008 compared to what we have to today. 4 indicators, and there's 4 different kinds of information I just want to take a brief look at to talk through these differences of what we had then versus what's taking place now. The first one I'm going to take and look at is the housing supply. And looking at the housing supply, as we were going into prior to 2008, we saw the months of inventory well above that 6 months of inventory, where today we're down below in the 3s. And I put a line across the chart there that you can see that where it was at 2005 versus today. Well, the supply is a lot different today because during that time frame of 2005, 2006, we had builders just building just rampantly, and yet we had imaginary buyers out there. So the inventory of homes, a lot of them being purchased, were sitting vacant, and I'll show that in the fourth factor. But the months of inventory really different. We're at such a lower supply right now, and the chief economist from Freddie Mac is even talking about what the differences are, and I'll post the link to his article. That was second factor that I wanted to look is the credit availability. This is published by the Mortgage Bankers Association. It demonstrates what the ease of credit was to be able to acquire, to purchase a piece of property. The lenders were especially for lower type of credit, and yet these mortgage-backed securities, the investors didn't know that there were a lot of these types of loans being done by the lenders, and the different economists and being able to report and say that these loans should never have been done. And yet now when we look at today, the availability of the credit is much harder. Yes, rates are good and we'll see that, but the availability to be able to get to the loans is way different. A lot of controls put into place. And the third one is the mortgage rates. Comparing the mortgage rates from 2008, a lot higher than what we have today in that upper 3s. Even though we have the lower rates, the availability of the credit a little harder than for the consumer and the buyer to be able to get that loan, and not having the inventory is impacting it. And because the builders just haven't been able to build, or they built minimally over the last number of years compared to decades ago, even prior to 2008 recession, we just don't have that inventory, even though the rates being so low, which is, it's great and it's fueling a little bit of the market, and we're seeing sales taking place. We just don't have that inventory. The fourth one is the vacancy factor. This is published by the U.S. Census Bureau, comparing the 2005, 6, 7, and 8 time frame versus where we are today and towards the end of March of 2020, the vacancy factor was extremely high in that 2005, 6, and 7, which we don't have today. The inventory has a lot to do with the vacancy factor. The builders were building just a lot of homes during that time frame. We had imaginary buyers, houses sitting empty. The recession hit, a lot of foreclosures. Today, we don't have the vacancy factor anywhere near during that 2008 window, which I realize, this market and everybody is being impacted because of the shutdown with a lot of the employers' housing market is that innocent bystander, because of the pandemic. And looking at the vacancy factor tells us way different. It's just going to be, the market is different right now than what it was during that time frame. If you like this information, I publish a lot of different videos, and especially on a monthly basis. It'd be interesting to see the comparison of March versus what it was in February because of the pandemic and the requirements for us to be able to have to stay home. Nobody has the crystal ball.